Good afternoon and welcome to another interesting episode of Standpoint. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. The beauty of the multi-party system in any democracy in the world is having a number of strong parties that can field credible candidates to contest elective positions for years. Nigeria has practiced a two-party system despite the fact that the country was supposed to be practicing a multi-party system with loud voices. Nigerians clamored for more parties to join the fray and the contest election when they might have gotten their wish or perhaps even more than what they wished for. INEC is raising the alarm over the proliferation of political parties in the country. And that's our focus on the first half of the show today. Later on, we'll beam our searchlights on the fallout of APC and PDP primaries in Ekiti State ahead of the July 14th governorship election. With me in the studio is a politician and former Ekiti governorship aspirant, Ishola Fakunda. And I also have in the studio is a lawyer and public affairs analyst, my friend, Libros Oshoma. All right, let me quickly take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Standpoint. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. According to INEC, Nigeria currently has 68 registered political parties with applications from 108 associations. I take that again, 108 associations seeking registration as political parties. Is this about to become a problem in our electoral process? Let me open the discussion with Libros. I remember Chief Gani Oyesola Fahimi, late Chief Gani Fahimi, and through the destruction of Balarabe Musa, that epic legal battle. And when they went to court and the Supreme Court ruled that the Independent National Electoral Commission does not have the rights to regulate, to register, to deny registration for these political parties.
And once you meet the requirement, what they should do is automatic registration.
But what is staring out as the face now? If, apart from the 68 political parties, and 108 are seeking to be registered, and if before the 2019 election, all these associations are registered, we can have like a kind of quagmire in our ballots.
No, I disagree. Because we do not want to, we always see it, if the political parties are too many, you're going to have, 100 and something political parties on the ballot and it might be too big to handle. Even those of us that are clamoring for independent candidature, if you have that, don't you think you will have a situation where in an election you have more than 500 independent candidates? And so what happens? How are you going to manage the ballot? For me, what I see here is you can call some of these associations or political parties fringe parties, not necessarily for election at the center, but because we operate a system of government whereby the federal government operates as a big local government and the president becomes the chairman, so every eye is on that center. If our polity is actually decentralized, you find out that some of these political parties would not be fixated on wanting to feed candidates for president. They can just want to control, the political environment at their local level, at their council level. And so they are satisfied with, that they are not interested even at the state or at the national level. But because here, every political association wants to have a bite of what is happening at the center, whether they have the muscle or not. And so that's why we are bogged down with the issue of, too many political parties on the ballot. But we know in actual sense that during every election we know the contenders, and the pretenders. And so what I would advise is not every association, not every political party should aspire to pretend in an election that you do not have the clout of the financial wherewithal or the muscle to be able to, participate. You can participate at the local level, at the smaller level. If I have a political party, for example, and I'm very popular in Bagada, why will I want to be president? I can decide at that level to say, I want to be the local government chairman or the councillor to represent this area. And let my political party be the popular one in that area and be known in that area. Then for government at the center, let the big players play at that level.
All right, Ishola. Yes. Now, we just finished Ekiti State primaries, and I covered both the APC and the PDP. And now I discovered that a large chunk of the delegates, with 33 aspirants for APC and 2 aspirants, aspirant for PDP, they didn't even know where to thumbprint. Do you understand? Yes, they had to be helped by agents and people there to supervise. That is for just like 33. In a situation where if you have 108, and Liberals made a point right now, but that is not the case on ground. You have political parties as very small that barely have presence around the 36 states, but somebody is saying, I want to be a presidential aspirant. I want to become a candidate for my party. Somebody in Shomolu here, you find people that are not even known to the man in the north, to the man in the
Some exist in briefcases.
Some even exist on Facebook. Well, at the end of the day, all these people, we are seeing them coming out every day now that they want to even be the president of Nigeria. Is this not going to create a kind of confusion to the would-be voter?
I don't think so. But if you would permit me, let me say this. I am mourning. We are mourning in Ekiti State. Yesterday, we lost one of our brightest and best, Barrister Kole Ajayi, Abere Kulokunludi. He developed heart attack and just died prematurely and very sad. May his soul rest in peace. I had to not turn down the invitation today because these are part of the ideas that he stood for and fought for all his life. The enthronement of democracy and especially reinstating good governance in Ekiti State.
My condolence, please.
Thank you very much. May his soul rest in peace. Now, there's nothing wrong in having 1,000 political parties. I mean, I will align myself with what Linus just said. And then what you referred to in Ekiti State was just a small percentage of the delegates who are not literate. It is not a crime to be an illiterate. Not everybody who is an illiterate is unaware of what is going on politically. INEC should do its work. INEC's work is to set guidelines and criteria. Once associations meet that criteria, you register them. We know, and then, to just, speak to what you said earlier, Nigeria don't operate a two-party system. We just have 2 huge parties bigger than everybody else. And then going back to the First Republic, not a lot of people actually know that before the Civil War, we had over 50 political parties. So we don't even go into history anymore when we say a lot of these things. Having so many political parties is like actually very healthy for democracy. Because you see, the truth of the matter is when you look at the diverse nature of Nigeria, the multi-ethnicity, the country that we have, recently, a while back, in the East, there was a party, PPA, by Orji Uzor Kalu, and they actually won an election and held one state before they won Imo State or thereabout again. But of course, that collapsed. It's not so much of those structures, but the individuals that actually come on board. I was speaking to a friend last night who was, trying to ask me for my views about joining a new political party. And I said to him that, well, I don't see anything wrong in that. I will just not join another party that is different, whose ideology are different from mine, or that has been set up by disgruntled people who leave parties and obnob from one party to the other. But is it healthy for our democracy? Yes, it is. Look, one party holding a small part of Ekiti State can actually truncate the presidential ambition of a huge party. Israel, no one party forms the government in Israel. If you go to the Knesset, it's a partnership by several parties. What's the population in Israel? What we need to be looking at, things and time will evolve. So we're not going to be able to, I'm a member of the APC, but I can tell you that Nigeria will go beyond APC and PDP with a whole lot of these parties, a whole lot of people becoming very politically aware and knowing fully well. Everybody will have ideas. What will work in Ekiti State, even in one part of Ekiti State in Okimesi, might not necessarily work in the next local government. So I think it's very healthy. INEC is the organization that should just put it out in order and do its work and do it very well. What they need to do is set guidelines and criteria. Once people meet those criteria, you mentioned the case, a lawsuit earlier on, you have to register them. What those organizations then go on to achieve in an election is entirely up to them, whether they achieve a larger feat or not. Shouldn't disturb our democracy. It should actually move our democracy forward.
We have a National Assembly now. When you look at the National Assembly, we have a sizable chunk from the All Progressive Congress. We have, followed by the People's Democratic Party. And when you look at other parties, I would say from Anambra, you have APGA senators. I think Labour Party is out of it. I don't know, maybe they still have any senator representing them. As at Delta State, as at the time Ovie Omagege started, he started out Labour Party and it crisscrossed to APC. When you want to look at the composition, you see that for this little, small party to really, there was a time, I think the Independent National Electoral Commission under Maurice Iwu actually was meeting the idea of if you don't win a seat, maybe in the House of Assembly.
Registering political parties.
Yes, maybe in the House of Assembly, maybe in the Senate or the
shouldn't be in
Assembly.
existence.
It shouldn't be in existence because you've not performed at all.
And the Supreme Court ruled against that also.
Yes.
And you see, Ayo, we're talking about two dominant parties now. If you remember the Second Republic, there were 5 dominant political parties. You have the MPN, UPN, MPP, GMPP, PROP, and then came later NAP.
NAP came in,
became 6
yes.
Before the 1983 election. You know, and they all had their fair share. They had their strongholds. But the idea, the problem now is that everybody wants to play mainstream. And so there is you no longer have ideology. Oh, the party at the center, so we must all be part of it. That's the party that is sharing the largest.
It's not everybody that wants to do the APGA model.
No.
This is our strength,
so
the Southeast.
Nobody, people no longer talk about, do I subscribe to the ideas of this party? No, they are the party at the aim of affairs at the state, so let's all join. So it becomes a vehicle for selfish and personal gains. And that's not what political party is about. Political party is supposed to be a platform of a people that shares the same ideology, fighting for, aspiring for control, political control. But here you have people in between 1999 to 2003 to 2007, PDP was its own enemy. Because you have
just
a
the
pool,
way it's happening.
yes, you have a pool of all sorts. Yeah. And now APC is the government in power. You find out that the greatest critics of the government at the National Assembly are members of the party. Because nobody wants to play opposition. Nobody wants to play at that small level. I remember in 2003, even those people in the Southwest, who ordinarily, before then, a lot of people look up to when it comes to political ideologies and the way forward politically. You hear them saying power shifts, mainstream. Power shifts and mainstream now became ideology all of a sudden. Oh yes, our son is there. And so since Obasanjo is our son, yes, let us play mainstream. Power shifts. So, and all of this also had a way of playing down on the importance of, political parties in Nigeria. And then, another thing, the moment you disagree, you go you put your documents together, you form your own. Waiting for election. On the day of election, maybe some people who are disgruntled or who are denied ticket from some of these main parties can come to you to look for tickets in your party. And then that will be a source of meal ticket for you also. And so you find out that this party now becomes like, 6 for 5 naira. Let's have them on a tray. But I must say this, advisedly, that if you want to play politics at the center, it shouldn't be about this. I register association today, 2 months to election, you suddenly remember that you want to campaign. There should be a synergy, because at the center, it is a totally different ballgame altogether. APC were able to achieve the feat that they achieved in 2015 because they came together. Otherwise, till date, PDP will still have been ruling, and they will tell you they will rule for 60 years. But the APC, Balarabe Musa did advise before 2011 that, look, CPC, you are the weaker one, because at that time they had
Nasarawa
and some members, a few members in the House of Rep, not even a senator. And said, look, why don't you approach the ACN, because they are the stronger ones, and then find a meeting ground and form an alliance. That's the only way you'll be able to give PDP a run for their money. In 2011, it didn't work out, but luckily for them, in 2015, it worked out. And that was how they were able to wrestle power. And any political party that is also dreaming of wrestling power at the center, it shouldn't be about you are disgruntled, you go and register one association here or this other association there. You think that Nigerians are sophisticated to that level that they will give you their mandate. And lastly, so that I yield the floor, that's why I like what my brother here said, that if you have a political party, even at the local level, you can upset, results at the center. How? Because for you to be president, you must have a spread.
That's right.
And so, if I have a political party in Ekiti, for example, in that my local government, and I detect what goes on because I am so strong, but not with the politics at the center, and then you require 25% to win, and then the only state that is remaining for you to garner that 25% is from Ekiti. And I am the spoiler. And if you don't negotiate with me to form an alliance with you, you won't get it. And then quickly,
let me put Ishola, let me put you back to what happened 1999 to 2003 and close to 2007. 1999, 2003, we had APP. The then APP holding some states in the northeast. Yeah. Just you can remind me if I'm missing. The APP.
Yes. You have Borno.
And we had
Zamfara.
And we had PDP. Seeming dominating.
We had like 3 parties, 4 parties.
The Alliance for Democracy.
That's right.
Holding firm in the Southwest axis.
Yes.
Just all of a sudden now, there was a time Rahman Olusegun Mimiko just held on to his Ondo states.
Family.
Labour Party.
With Labour Party.
Yes. But he couldn't sustain it. And let me just take Aliu from Kogi State before I ask this question. Aliu, thank you for joining us, Aliu. Hello, Aliu, are you there? Thank you for joining us. All right. So why is it that if we start something small, a person like Mimiko was able to give in to pressure and join the People's Democratic Party? He couldn't nurture that Labour Party, and the movement was so strong and formidable in Ondo State. Politics
is about interest and recognition. And our political dispensation and experience in this Fourth Republic is evolving and evolving faster. When people are used to certain structures, it will be very difficult. I mean, the example you gave about Mimiko was extraordinary. Mimiko was a grassroots man. Yes. He actually went against the system.
4 months before the election.
But underneath, what you did not see was he was able to reach a lot of alliances with people who helped him to upstage the PDP government there then. Now, why could he not hold on to that structure? It's very similar. I mean, what Linus just said earlier on.
Liberals.
It is liberals. It is the people that hold this association that is at fault, not the association itself. For all its wealth, Ondo State could be a Labour Party state for the next God knows how many years and dictate by alliance. They could even bring in more, to that state by forming alliances with like bigger parties, so to say. It's about advantages, where you advantages and what people need. But when you have people without ideology, but just opportunity, and they're taking advantage of that opportunity, you're not going to have a foundational basis upon which to build anything on. And then you will find out that's why you see that when people move from one party to the other, they take with them like a whole chunk of people who are not necessarily ingrained in the ideologies of the party, but just the person that they're following. So it's still about followership of one man or a group of people. But I believe as time goes on, right, some of these parties will, look at what is going on now. A whole lot of people are actually throwing their hat into the ring, wanting to contest for the presidency. I won't take any of them for granted. That's the truth. Because you see, this is politics. The house of one party could just fall apart at a very crucial moment, and then
like
that's
it's
it.
happening anymore.
And that's it. Time is of the essence in politics and in election. We're getting closer to an election year where we change president or we re-elect president. So everybody must keep their house in order, and I believe that that's what we're looking at. Now, how do we now transform from smaller political parties to big political parties? It is people just staying the course based on ideology. I mean, look at, for instance, the National Conscience Party.
Yes.
Their followership have been like more or less people that believe in certain ideology, right? But have they grown beyond where they should be? We don't know that. I mean, I belong to a political party and I want my party to be very relevant.
Yes, since
for
2003.
For as long as we can be. But in 2003, the example that you gave, I mean, like there was a tsunami that came, that was the word that was used to sweep away a lot of the governors of the Southwest. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu stood firm as the last man standing. But immediately that came into, you've got to now look at the time. This Fourth Republic just started 4 years down the line. We just came from a very brutal military era. So where was the ideology then? Just trying to re-engineer things, and then that came. Okay. We're still suffering from the effect of that.
Let me quickly take Alidu. Alidu is calling us from Kogi State. Thank you for joining us, Alidu. Hello, Alidu.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Alidu.
Good afternoon, everybody there.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Alidu.
My contribution is just simple. On behalf of myself and people of Nigeria, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just begging God for forgiveness, forgive all those who are denying Buhari from 2019 election. Because whoever don't appreciate Buhari will never appreciate God. Buhari is a God-sent president to us.
We are not campaigning for Buhari here, Alidu.
Hello?
We are talking about multi-party system. We are not campaigning for President Buhari here. Thank you for your contribution. Please, if you want to contribute to the subject matter, you can call us back, the subject matter.
Yes, and a good example of multi-party system is what you saw play out with the emergence of President Muhammadu Buhari, or the CPC, the ACN, and one or two other blocks coming together to form. You will be seeing these alliances and realliances as we go on in this experiment. And that's what will be building other parties. But what we need to watch out for will be people who will just want to take the opportunities of the time to jump into the fray, but will not have what it takes to stay the length of the race. That's the problem that you're going to have. So you have a lot of people wanting to be president now. What will happen to them and the platform that they want to contest on after 2019 and they lose? Because trust me, when you lose an election, there's a whole lot of pain that comes with it.
See, another thing, you see, like talking about, Shola just talked about Mimiko, the staying power, and the ideologies and the structures. You can also take that experience to Lagos State. At that point, it was just Lagos that ACN had sway. But
From AG to ACN.
yes. And so, but they had the staying power. And then coupled with good governance. So people could relate with the activities of the party and what it represents and what it stands for. That, oh, we didn't know governance can be this good. So there is no
Spread their
way.
tentacles later.
And then gradually, because of that, people wanted a replication of what was happening in Lagos in their states.
That's right.
And so people who contested on the platform of other parties that didn't get it had to find their way into the winning party. It happened in Oyo. Ajimobi was from AMPP.
And the senator.
Even in Ogun,
Amosu was
Amosu
from AMPP.
was AMPP to PDP, then to ACN. Because he knew that with the experiment that had been set in Lagos, that there was need to align with what was happening in the Southwest. Because what happened in 2003 was just temporal. But people, because also people were sophisticated, the electorate were sophisticated. And that's why I agree with Shola also that gradually as time goes on with education, you'll find out that it will become extremely difficult for one party to have that dominating posture. And that was one of the fears also of the government at the center with amendment of section 25 of the Electoral Act. Because if you remember in 1999, no one party could form the majority at the Senate. So there had to be alliance until the 1983 election where you had landslide, moonslide, and all kinds of slides. But when you have all of those smaller parties everywhere, you can decide that, look, I just want to be at this small level and control power there and represent truly the interest of my people. And you find out that the big parties at some point will come down to negotiate with you because they need a chunk of your state to be able to control the center. And if we grow it from there, then you can now have parties, political parties that share the same interest coming together to be able to form government at the center, even though in some cases, while they still hold their individual, strength or identity.
I have to take this a breather. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Standpoint on television Continental. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. It's still Standpoint on television Continental. Moving on now, the Ekiti governorship election is just about 2 months from now. Nigeria's biggest political parties, that is the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party, have conducted their primaries and presented their flag bearers. For the APC, the contender is Dr. John Kairi-Fayemi, with Olushola Kolakbo Eleka is the man for the People's Democratic Party. Sparks are already flying. Now, Governor Fayose is accusing the APC of plotting to rig the votes, while President Buhari has urged APC leaders to ensure that the will of the people is not subverted as done in 2014. How do you see things playing out in Ekiti State come July 14? The will of people, I doubt if the will of the people was subverted in 2014 as asserted by Mr. President.
You don't want me to go into the 2014 election, Ayo. Trust me, you don't want me to go there at all. So let's just stay with what is going to happen in July. Okay? Dr. Ayo Fayose, Governor Fayose, is behaving now like a man who has nothing to offer. There's an election in the offing. Leave all this other rhetorics. Just face the election. You've seen the primaries of both parties. What we're campaigning for I'm a member of the APC, and I can tell you that the APC will win that election, and Dr. John Kayode Fayemi will be the next governor. No, you don't. You've been in Ekiti, you were in Ekiti, and you saw what it is. The people will decide, and the people will vote. Who is going to subvert the will of the people? You don't have to be crying wolf now. Let us just go into that election. What you saw happen with the APC primaries, well, the primaries where Dr. Kayode Fayemi emerged, is a microcosm of what will happen in the larger election in July. What we're appealing for from the federal government is not federal might, but that they should compel INEC to conduct a free and fair and transparent election.
They're prepared for it.
That
they don't need any party to compel them. That is their responsibility.
If INEC is prepared,
conduct election, they don't have to compel them. If Mr. President compels them, that's a kind of interference.
The interference. Okay,
because
fine.
He is an
let me take
party.
that back. But let me tell you, the people are more prepared, over ready for this election. Good governance is what everybody wants. Good governance is what we want to bring, what the people want to vote for. And that's what will happen on July 14th. If anybody is thinking that Ekiti will be like it used to be, that was why I said to you that I don't want to go into 2014 election. This is an election that will be clear for everybody to see. People will vote. The people of Ekiti are more anxious for a change of the status quo than even like the people outside of Ekiti are imagining it to be. And when you're not in Ekiti, right, take time to study what is going on the ground in Ekiti State. Take time to find out what the people want. Take time to find out the mood and the sentiment of the people. It's not about defending what is not defensible anymore. It's about letting people see what will happen in Ekiti State in that election.
Liberals, Ayo Fayose is extremely popular among the grassroots. He understands what his people want. I spoke with him when I went to Ekiti State, and he was telling me if it's not because of the constitution, a constitutional barrier that just gives him 4 years, that he will continue to rule Ekiti for the next 30 years. He calls himself Peter the Rock Fayose, and he's the kind of man that can come down from his car and goes anywhere, break protocols, but it's people, you will see the love. Do you see the All Progressive Congress candidates, that's John Kayode Fayemi, able to beat that kind of track record?
First and foremost, I would say that I see the anxiety in my brother's speech, and that's why I can never be a politician. It's the anxiety and knowing what you know, and you just wish, and then it happens and you're like, oh, why are people not saying it this way? Elections, politicians will talk. Fayose will come and tell you he's the man to beat. That anywhere he goes, the people will go with him. He knows what the people want. The APC candidate will tell you, look, I know my people. They're yearning for a change.
I think I have Patrick from Abia State. Let's just quickly take Patrick. Thank you for joining us, Patrick.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Honestly, you see, the state election, I look at it as it's an election between federal and state and the local government. And you ask yourself, what is the fate of the electorate in that state? Now, what is brought before was the issue of the political parties. You see, the political parties in Nigeria we have today now, they are not much. Let's give an average of 100. Now, this average of 100, you have to say Nigerian population, we're over 200 million or 180. Now, this population, you see, 80% of Nigerians are illiterate. 10% are illiterate, 10% are literate. These are the problems that is, because if in the rifle sense, Nigerians know exactly what they want. I agree, we're talking about some of infrastructure, namely red, white. But the thing is this, the election, the federal government and the state, they have to be very careful, because the way the political talks are bringing up this time around, it's very, very alarming. The federal government and state government have to be very careful. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Patrick, for that one.
I wonder where Mazi from Arochukwu is. But really, like I was saying, so politicians will do their thing. Fayose is what you will call the dramatist governor. goes to the market,
Thank you.
buy pepper,
Thank you.
buy oil, buy meat.
But these people seem to be comfortable
And
with
then
that.
also,
They seem to like that.
and then
Where are the
also
people?
you find out that the problem really, even before 2014, as because at that time I took time to visit Ekiti, go around, and as progressive as you would think the then government of Fayemi was, you would think, oh look, the people were happy. But unfortunately, what Fashola described as stomach infrastructure. But unfortunately, those people who felt, look, this is the way to go in Ekiti, on the day of election, you hardly see them. They're in Lagos analyzing election in Ekiti. And then the market woman, the pepper seller, and those Okada riders that Fayose would go relate with, those are the people that will queue up. And that's why I think the generality of those who believe and subscribe to the ideas of Fayemi, there's need for the party to find as much as they can to key into them and ensure that they'll be on ground to cast their votes. Otherwise, if you allow the masses, those
Okada riders,
who all they think of is, look, I see the governor, whether he performs or not, for the fact that he relates with us on the streets.
He ate Momo with us.
He ate Momo with us. He ate Amala with us. We're okay. And then you're going to have a problem. And then you reduce governance to pepper and tomato selling. And then at every election like this, you see every governor wanting to buy corn by the roadside, wanting to carry headpan of cement on their head just to show that they relate with the people. We should take elections away from those realm to the realm of, look, this is the problem of the state, and this is what I want to do, and these are the timeline, and this is how much comes. So that you don't get there, you say, oh, I didn't know the problem with this enormous. This is how much comes, and this is how we're going to add to what comes, and this is what we're going to spend, and this is what we leave. So it should be about issues. And so now, because also we can't close our eyes to the fact that in 2014, there were a lot of cries about the militarization of the election in Ekiti. We can't close our eyes to that fact. You can say people voted, but some persons were denied opportunity to vote. And so, if that had played out, now we hope and pray that the government of the day will not pay Fayose back in his own coin.
How?
Fine. You know, then Fayose's people were government at the center. And so it was easy for them to deploy the military and security, even the DSS, to ensure that people were threatened. Some could not even come out. Some were
leaders of
exactly of political parties. And so,
arresting them.
And so I expect that now the party at the center, which is the APC, it is their turn today, they should rather concentrate on their people to ensure that everybody comes out to vote and not use that same method that was used in 2014 by the PDP to conduct this election. Otherwise, there will be no difference. There won't be hope for those of us who try to, find a way of distinguishing between both political parties.
Ishola, is it going to be reduced to stomach infrastructure thing now?
I thank you so much. I wish I didn't have to talk anymore after you've said what you've said. Look, with all due respect to comedians, the easiest and the simplest job you can get into in Nigeria now is to be a comedian, right? And unfortunately...
Okay, let me quickly take... Shola is calling us from Ekiti State. Shola, thank you for calling us.
Good afternoon.
Yes, yes, Shola. Where are you calling from in Ekiti? Are you in Ado Ekiti?
Yes, I'm calling from Ekiti.
Ise Ekiti? Ikere Ekiti, the second largest voting bloc.
I'm calling from Ikere Ekiti.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. You see,
you have to call back. I'm struggling to... I was asking you...
Okay. We've reduced governance to a level that doesn't even make anybody proud anymore, right? Journalists media people, they've not been any helpful at all. a lot of what we're facing now is a creation of even like, of the media. These theatrics. In 1999, it was media practitioners, Femi Ojudu, Dai Babanisa and co., right, that went to the National Assembly and unearthed what was going on there with the speaker, then that brought down that speaker. Right, so where are we now? The people on the street in Ekiti State, they now know the difference properly between theatrics and real governance. They know the difference between like children's education and not children. I mean, people talk about people eating corn, and I've said, I believe it was even on this program, who has not yet amala and corn on the road or on the streets before? Who hasn't? So you want to tell me that going to amala joint, sitting down for a governor eating an amala should distinguish him and make him more popular or less acceptable? We have serious issues that we have to face. It's a tricky balancing act. How do we sell those ideas to the people now, especially after what we've had in the last in the last 4 years? There's a governor. There are two governorship candidates. Well, two major governorship candidates. Don't forget there are other parties. Mm-hmm. There's the SDP waxing strong now in Ekiti State. Now, we have two candidates. We need to find out. The people want to know what are the criteria. For instance, with the candidate of the PDP, the people want to know what was the criteria that the current governor, Governor Fayose is still my governor, isn't it? What was the criteria that he used when he was picking that man as his deputy governor? Does that criteria fit somebody who will be governor?
It's all loyalty.
We're all going to go.
Is a professor?
Trust me.
Is a professor?
Trust me.
No
doubt. We're going to, in the next 2 months in Ekiti State, you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see election campaign in its real sense of the word. This is not about militarization. That was why I said I didn't want to go into that, because every time you mention 2014 election, we all know what happened in 2014. It wasn't different from what happened in 2003. In 2003, when the government in Ekiti will change and it was Obasanjo coming into town with his tsunami. In 2014, it was Jonathan's desperation. But we're going into an election now where there's no Jonathan, there's no Buruji Kashamu, there's no Omo Ilu Foundation. We're going to an election with a president who is not even, if you want to be governor, go and fight the election in your own state. I don't expect President Buhari to send the military to Ekiti State to militarize it. If Dr. Kayode Fayemi is popular or not, we will know on the 14th. If the people will accept Dr. Eleka or not, we will know on the 14th. But trust me, word on the street is what you, as journalists, that I'm actually asking journalists to go and do proper journalism the way we know people have done it in the past and find out. But you keep promoting all these theatrics, all this amala eating and all of that. What's the synergy? What's between eating amala and the future of children?
But Ayo, sorry, please permit me to say this. I'm not trying to defend the journalist here, but...
we are the whipping dogs.
No, you're not the whipping dog. We're not with the whipping dog. We're just talking... No, we just need to speak objectively.
I would also like to chip in this, that we all collectively have reduced governance
to amala eating and corn popping on the street.
That's why it is not the making of the journalists, but the making of the politicians. And that's why every politician, every aspirant, election is around the corner again. Recently, you saw Governor Ganduje with a headpan of cement on his head. You saw, in the last election, you saw El-Rufai with corn on the street. You saw Amechi trying to plait a woman's hair. You saw the president's wife frying akara. All of these politicians, this is what they reduce governance to. And do you also know, because the people, that's the only way they feel that governance gets closer to them.
No, they felt like Ekiti State now, they felt Kayode Fayemi was aloof. They felt Kayode Fayemi was, he was not connecting with them.
Look,
that is somebody that carries with his shoulder. As at that time, you're beginning to realize that this was you weren't asking for what we want.
Quickly, also, these are take home for Governor Fayemi.
Yes.
These are take home. Because the average people, the ordinary, these grassroots people, are they happy when you reduce governance to amala? Yes, they are. And so...
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
No.
Wait, let me finish. Let me round up.
This is becoming a misconception.
You need to create, there's what we call segmentation. You need to segment your market.
You need to, no doubt.
Understand how to approach them.
Yes.
There are some people who will be happy when you come to relate with them in this Amala style.
When you go and relate to them in Amala style and you speak English to them.
I have Tokwe. Tokwe is calling us from the United Kingdom, London precisely.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Tokwe.
Yeah, I really enjoy your program. I've been trying to get through for a period of time.
Okay, I thought you would be in Buckingham Palace today.
I just want to correct an impression about Mr. Shoma regarding the pepper selling women in the market and the Okada riders. That's what Nigerian government has reduced them to. Over 70% of the people riding Okada, at least they have O-level certificates, if not graduates. Over 75% of them, and from the kitty as well.
That's right.
And the woman selling the pepper in the market, at least they have O-level certificate. They know what governance is. They know the kind of person they want as their government, as their leader, irrespective of their situation or status in the community. They know their left from the right. Stop talking down on them as if they don't know from left to right.
No,
Thank you very much.
Sorry, quickly.
Let me quickly chip something in. Right? Look, pre-2014, Governor Fauci was campaigning that, look, this campaign should be about issue-based. Right? We haven't forgotten that. So this time around, this campaign will be about issue-based. We don't even want it to be about personality. Do you understand what I'm saying? We don't want it to be about whether you're a professor or you're a doctor. Let it be about issue-based. Where are we taking governance to? Look, the gentleman that just called in, right? People accuse some of us and say, okay, you go there and you speak your big English and do stuff like that. When you go and stop Okada riders on the street of Ekiti State, you don't tell them, Gbemilosi Adebayo, take me to Adebayo. Who does not speak English in Ekiti State? If we're able to separate all this propaganda from the real issues, what Dr. Kayode Fayemi knows, what he has to do, he knows. He has to connect with the people properly to disregard and destroy this negative propaganda.
Let's not forget. For me, here,
yes,
you can take my advice, you can leave it.
We will take it.
But I am not talking down on the electorate in Ekiti.
No, you're not.
There are some of them are the most sophisticated electorate in Nigeria. But then, if you go back to the history of emergence of Fayose in Ekiti and how he's been able to consistently do
2003
what he's doing, you will understand that there is a class of people who he tries consistently to strike a chord with. How do you strike that same chord with the people without playing the theatrics? So for me, let me finish. Yes. For me, I am not saying you must try to dance like him. Otherwise,
no, we won't dance
because you can never do better than him in his feed.
No, we won't
but
dance like him.
You need to, in connecting to these people, you need to elevate the discourse, but also find that same chord to connect with them. So that, because what Fayemi was accused of pre-2014 was that, this man is a Lagos politician. I can't forget. We were on the studio here. We visited Ijero, Ikole, Idosi. That, look, this man is a Lagos, he's too sophisticated and he's too elitist. Fashola described it as, these people want stomach infrastructure. That is why, and you find out that thereafter, people try to connect governance, find a striking chord. And so as it is, if you get to office, you can try to counsel those politics of Amala. But in relating with the people at the grassroots, not what you think they want, but finding out truly what do they want. Once you get that, I wish...
If you see me in Ekiti today, would you say I'm not a grassroots man?
Wait. Well, what I'm saying is, I want Ekiti. I want Ekiti to be like Lagos.
What do they look like?
You look like an Afghan.
Let me tell you. Do you know why? In my area, once in a while, I take time to go to the public feeds to relate with the people. Not because I am a politician, but because I feel their pain. Yeah. And so they see me
I've had to come to
exactly,
your field,
to my field
to see,
and you see the way, and so you find out that these people, they are gatekeepers. At some point, if you don't relate with them, I've had calls where area boys will save me from harassment and attacks.
You're talking about connection and relating. You're advising us very well, trust me, and we're taking that on board. I'm sure I'm not the only one taking it on board. Even the generality of Ekiti voters, that advice is meant for them. They're taking it on board as well.
That's just
Look, you witnessed the APC primaries. That primaries, I'm telling you, is a microcosm of what will happen. You saw the victory that Dr. Fayemi, gathered. You saw the votes. You saw the numbers. A lot of politicians. I was an aspirant till I pulled out of the race for a whole lot of reasons. A lot of aspirants will tell you that God called me. The people called me. On the day of the election, you will know by the result of the election whether people have actually reached out to somebody and say, please, Ejo,
you can be called if you have money to share.
You can be called if you have money to share as well. But Ayo was there. Ayo was in Ekiti trial. We didn't even let him leave Ekiti State.
No, I know, right? I understand.
Now, so you experienced that. You experienced the primaries of both parties. You saw the ratio of the win in both parties. Where one person was standing, intimidating voters, you saw the ratio was 2 to 3. You saw the ratio of win in the other party as well. Those are the things. Look, we're not even talking, nobody is doing pen and paper politics now. Nobody is talking scientific politics now. As we are speaking with you, walk the street of Ekiti. In fact, let the two governors, let the two leading lights walk the street of Ekiti. Let us see. One of the things you should not rule out is the fact that every time a politician moves on the street and crowds follow him, is it not the same set of crowds that follow you today that follow somebody else tomorrow?
Yeah.
The deciding factor is when you have to go and vote. If how you have reached
and then
out
lastly,
to them.
Ayo,
as we round off.
Yes, my last take on this. Lastly, my appeal now to the politicians, because what also happened in Ekiti in 2014, you find a situation where Opeyemi Bamidele had to split the votes of the ACN then. And I will appeal to those, that fell out from the primaries, not to begin to look for smaller platforms where they will be spoilers.
Have you not been seeing what has been happening since the primaries?
Yes, I have. Yes. But like you said,
the house is in order.
24 hours is a long time in the life of
this
a
house
politician.
is in order.
And so, these are advice.
I know, we're taking it.
And so,
we're taking it.
I will advise, let the flag bearers find a way of carrying everybody along, so that you don't have a situation where one man will act as a spoiler, and at the end of the day, if not the fact that the man left, if you had put those votes together, it would have gone a long way.
Your last
let me just answer that. Dr. Fayemi won, and before they even left that podium, you were there. The aspirants that came second, third, fourth, and fifth, and down the line like that, actually, promised their allegiance to him, to even collapse their structures for him. So the house is intact. Come July 14, the APC will win this election, not for anything else, but because the people in Ekiti State have seen the difference. The Yorubas will tell you that they know the difference. They know deceit now when they see it. It is not anybody coming to tell them what is not. The ballot will speak.
The ballot will speak. We can leave it there. I want to thank you, Ishola Fakunda.
The ballot will speak.
I want to thank you, Libros Oshoma, for being our guest on the Standpoint. And that's it on Standpoint today. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Enjoy your weekend.